Hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Him and Her TalkSpace, where me, your him host, Chad, master life coach, and my equally fantastic co-host,
Nene Wyndham. Hello, everyone.
We are bringing you yet another wonderful topic for us here in the forum, who we affectionately call our TalkSpace. Get to just sit down and talk stuff about and just get down to try and see what we can do in 2 hours to get down to the root of the topic and see what we can do to improve our understanding on this area and see what we can do as far as taking that newfound understanding and newfound knowledge out to our community to make things better for ourselves. So tonight's topic is an interesting one. It's something that gets talked about in salons and barbershops all around. It's something that's, I think, is being talked about more often now. In the light of the differences that we have in terms of social interaction and so on and so forth, and what we are and aren't able to do nowadays. But it's still a very old topic. So, can men and women truly be friends? And this is especially, I feel like this is an especially strong subject in the Black community. I'm sure it's a thing all over the place, but especially with us. Can men and women truly be friends? How do we see each other? It's easy. It's a really simple point to say that men and women absolutely we do need each other, in a lot of ways. But how do those rules change when it comes to friendship? How do we define friendship between us? What are the steps that are taken that needs to go on it? These are things that we're going to be talking about tonight. We got a few other points that we want to throw out there for you guys to talk about. So, without further ado, the first grenade we're going to throw out in there into the talk space for you guys is: how does friendship really work between men and women? There's no right or wrong answer here. Y'all throw out your thoughts and opinions, questions out there. Anybody can answer. We are monitoring the chats and the comments, as well as anybody who raises his hand and wants something to say. By all means, come on with it. How does it really work between us?
First of all, wow, that is a loaded question. Wow. Can they be friends? Yes, I do believe they can. As long as there is no attraction between the two, I think, they can be friends. I think attraction is where the water starts to get murky.
Okay. That's major. That's major. That's a big thing. That's a big first answer. Anybody else want to springboard off of that? Thank you for that, Kim.
Sorry. When there's boundaries set and you pass them, or when there's not good enough communication, and like you said, it's murky, but basically just not honoring each other's boundaries.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Boundaries. So we got boundaries. That's an issue. That's a point. Whether or not there's attraction, that's a point. I'm with that. Anybody else for that? How does that work?
I think both with boundaries. I mean, if there's an attraction but boundaries are set, because if you have two attractive people who are just happen to be friends and just not attracted, or know that it wouldn't work in a romantic relationship, but those boundaries are set, like it's just strictly platonic, there's no friends with benefits, we are just that, I think it absolutely can work. Yeah.
Okay. This is all stuff that we're going to get more into, but yeah, you're absolutely right. What happens? What do you think happens when there is attraction? Because that's like, it's just like, for me, I was sharing with you on the show before the show. I was saying, honestly, I did a really solid assessment of myself, and I was like, Nene, I don't think I have any ugly friends.
And I said, thank you.
Oh, right. Thank you. Oh, suck it now. Even though I'm not on camera.
Okay. I was not prepared. But yes. Honestly, I did the honest, sober assessment of myself. I said for real, for everybody that I consider a friend, I was like, I don't think I I don't think I have any like friends that I would consider as unattractive.
Right.
You know, and that's important, because while I can say that they are attractive, I am not attracted, like you were saying, right? So it's like they're beautiful, but it's like they're beautiful, but I don't feel like I need to mess with them. Like they're like, we're good. So that's one of those things. What else do you think is needed for it? We said boundaries. We said boundaries, communication, constance. You mentioned something about good communication. That's something. What else is needed? What else is needed for that?
For me, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I think men need to see your value outside of a physical or intimate attraction. I know that for friendship that I formed with men, it started out with a physical attraction on their end. And I had to have a conversation with them, letting them know that, hey, you know, it's nice to have physical attraction, but if I'm not interested in you, where does that go? And a lot of them are on a standstill where they're kind of like, well, maybe if I hang around her long enough, she'll change her mind. But then what happens is they fall in love with my personality. And then it's kind of like, well, wait a minute. I kind of like her separate from my attraction for her physically. And then the friendship is formed from an intellectual tangent.
Okay. So you're talking about how it's formed for you in a lot of ways.
Right. And I feel like,
oh my God, they're looking at you like, hey, and then they stick around still trying to get in one way, but then they see other aspects of you.
yeah, I've had a guy say to me that, you know what, I look at you and I see somebody that I can actually throw things at, you know, conversationally and get some really valuable input. And I look forward to our conversation. Like, I know you're attractive, but I don't see your attractiveness, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm with that. Does it happen the other way around for women? Does it happen that same way? Can any woman talk on that?
I like intelligence first and foremost. So I find that if I meet a man that's attractive, yes, it's great. But if he opens his mouth and some foolishness comes out, then to me, it's I can't even go past that.
I agree.
I know for the friendships that I have, that's of the opposite sex, there was never any consideration. I know definitely from my part, and then I've never felt like there was any consideration on their part. So usually our friendships formed out of work relationships, or they're mostly work relationships. I've had, childhood friends that I grew up with that are, friends from school, but I don't get to see them on a regular basis. But I can honestly say that those friendships they never was any thought of anything going past a friendship.
From your end.
From my end, and also you can kind of pick up on certain vibes when someone is attracted to you, or they may say certain things or do certain things, and I've never gotten that inclination from them at all. So I think that all my friendships of the opposite sex are just that, friends. And usually if they have a partner or somebody, I usually make the effort to say, oh, say hi to such and such. Or, if I see them with them, so it's never been where I would want that other person to feel uncomfortable. But usually those type of friendships never are that intense. Those friendships are never that intense. Like usually with my female friendships, like we might talk on the phone for frequently. So usually my male friendship, it's not as frequent. We may have those inconsistent times where we are talking for longer periods, but never like every day. Mm-hmm. So I don't have like that best male friend. Well, he's gay, but other than him, I don't have those type of male relationships where it's like that intense.
Okay.
All right, cool. For anybody who wishes to share, where do because you already touched on a good point, Chanel. For anybody who wants to throw their information into the pot here, where do most of your opposite sex friendships come from? Because you mentioned work. This is how some of them come out of work. Where do some of them come from? Where do a lot of them come from for you guys? Because I know for me, most of my women friends come from school.
I'm gonna say Facebook.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Facebook. I have more from Facebook than I do from, and I was in the Navy for 12 years, but I have more from Facebook than I do from school or the military.
Okay. All right, good. Thanks for adding that in there. And social media is one of those major things. Have I made a lot of friends, male and female there? Yeah. Probably more women friends than male friends when it comes to social media, but that is another major player. But yeah, anybody else want to talk about where a lot of theirs came from?
For me, it's social media as well, but most of mine are really childhood friends that have remained friends throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I can call them on Facebook friends. You know what I mean? But my
associates.
Yeah.
You got associates?
Because I really do have a lot of male friends, but they are all friends that have been in my life for a very long time.
Right. Okay, thanks for that.
Same here. I meet people, and I meet people through friends, a friend. I don't necessarily consider Facebook people my friend. They're like she said, associates. I've met people on the job. Men are everywhere, and men are always going to try to have a conversation, but you have to determine what they want. And I feel like everybody has an agenda. It's just up to you to determine whether they're worth being a friend or not at all.
True.
So, you know.
Good. I can say for myself, and no one's said this, and I know we're going to touch on this later, Chad, but which is kind of, now I'm thinking about it, most of my male friendships come from old relationships. So people that I was in relationships with, and we're no longer in intimate relationships, we just become friends, and we remain friends after the relationship.
Gotcha. Yeah, we are going to dip more into that later on. So y'all keep a mental in the back of your head on that one. Oh, jeez, man. Do your opposite sex friendships operate differently than your same sex ones?
What does that mean, operate differently?
Like when you feel like, are there things that, well, aside from like talking about specific subjects and stuff like that, and maybe in this case, maybe you don't have a differentiation in terms of what you talk about with them, but are there things that you talk about with your guy friends differently than you don't talk with your women friends? Or for the guys, are there things that you talk about your guy with your guy friends that you want with your women friends?
Not me.
Oh, you just throw it all out there.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, the only reason why I said not me is because I grew up around mostly boys, so I grew up kind of like a tomboy. So my relationship with men is different. And my friends are really my friends, so I might not talk about every single thing with the man, but I don't talk about every single thing with the woman either. So my male friends, they really, really know me, and that's why I asked, what do you mean? Because I guess in any instance we can say, yes, it's different. I could think of instances where it's different, but I can also think of many instances where it's the same. But blaming on how I grew up as a tomboy, so I have more male friends. So I just, I just operate differently. I have less female friends now. So I think it's just me. I can understand last point. I can understand a woman saying, hell yeah, yes, they're different. I definitely can understand.
You guys just this adult folk. This adult time.
I never know. You never know.
No,
But
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Hey, this is Tanisha. But I can say prior to my marriage, I had a lot of guy friends, and I had a lot of good guy friends, real close guy friends that we were just friends, wasn't anything intimate. We were really, really good friends. We looked out for each other. We helped each other through things in life that we were going through because I was younger. And I feel that with my guy friends, I can tell them things and they can be truly honest with me, because if I would have told some of my girlfriends some things, they wouldn't be judgmental, but they were like, you really feel this way, you really feel that way. A guy really don't know how a female feels about stuff really deep down inside. All they go on what you say, to me. So with conversations with some of my guy friends, I can tell them something like anything because I want an honest opinion, and they'll give me their honest opinion of what they think about stuff. And then one of the best things I missed or I loved about my relationship with my guy friends was that they would come and school me on stuff that I don't know about, things that I wouldn't think, and something as simple as one time this guy was like, okay, he said, you look so clean, your clothes clean, you're clean. He said, well, why don't you just use some different fiber softener? I was like, what? I mean, something simple as that. I was like, why is that? He said, because when you walk by, when people walk by you, your perfume smells, your perfume smell okay. He said, but guys like fresh smell clothes. I was like, for real? I mean, that was odd to me. But, then I started using fiber softener. I had never used it before, but it was, it was just some little silly stuff like that. I was like, okay, you pay attention to that. But, hey, as women, you don't know what men pay attention to if they don't never say it, but he gave me some good hits on stuff. So in my experience, I can't talk about anybody else, but my experience, I feel I could tell my guy friends anything. And they honestly give me the feedback without hurting my feelings. Or if they did hurt my feelings, they told me and like, okay, look, I'm gonna tell you what it is. You suck it up or whatever. Hey. That's it for me.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's solid. Yeah, like stuff like that. That's what I like to hear. Like whatever your dynamic is for it is just wanting to hear what, if anything, is the difference. Is there even a difference? Like, can you roll to the movies with your women friends the same way you can roll to the movies with your guy friends? Can you go bowling with either set and act out the same way? Can you have sit down conversations with either set and it run out the same way? That's what I'm at. That's what I'm really asking. So to hear that breakdown is good. It's solid. Or to hear some of the benefits of the groups that you have. That's also good. Hopefully somebody will be able to use that. On to the part that you just asked about. Oh, before I do, anybody else want to springboard off that? Anybody want to share some of the similarities and differences that they have in dealing with each group?
Me and my female friends, we talk about, or my women friends, we talk about life. We talk about what's going on in their life. We talk about kids. We talk about different things. My guy friends and I talk about vacation spots or where they want to. I have guy friends that are in relationships. So they call me, ask me information. Well, what do you think I did wrong? Or what do you think I did right? Or whatever the case may be. And for the most part, we talk money. We talk stocks. We talk about different cryptocurrencies and so forth. My girlfriends are talking about how to save money and so forth. And I'm the one that's trying to structure their budgets and so forth. So a lot of my conversation with my guy friends are mostly about money.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does say a lot, actually.
Mm-hmm.
My guy friends. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you started. Go ahead.
My guy friends, with me and my guy friends, it's very much the same way. We're talking about, what projects that we have going on.
Right.
If somebody's renovating something, if we're talking about tips for renovating, our houses or cars or whatever. We're talking about stocks and money, making money moves. We're talking about you know, a lot of my guys also happen to be musically inclined, like I do, so we end up talking about a lot of music and stuff too. But not even just music for the sake of music, but we're also musicians. So we're talking about projects in that regard as well. It's a lot of action-driven stuff. With my women friends, it's relationships and how we're feeling, and you know, and also things like music and a lot of food. I talk about food with a lot of my women friends. A lot of my women friends are hardcore foodies.
Yes.
They throwing recipes at me. I'm like, why did you do that? Why do it? Now I can't unlearn that. Now I want to go make it.
Good.
So there's a lot of that happening.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a lot of the dynamic that I have with my friends, that I have with my two. Go ahead, Nene.
I was gonna say, as far as me, my majority of my conversations with my female friends, with my women friends, my lady friends, are building and entrepreneurship and like next level steps and futuristic thinking and stuff like that. For the men, ironically enough, it's about relationships. Like, should I do this for her? Or, you know, I did this, was that wrong or whatever? So in that, the women's circle, the women's circle that I have, we're all future focused, whether it's career change or starting a new business or saving to, you know, build generational wealth. And the men are all about relationships.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
How we got opposites?
Actually, okay. I'm with her. I'm with her because my female friends, I'm sitting here thinking about it. Every single last one of my female friends are entrepreneurs. We all have small businesses. We're all trying to get to that next level. We're all trying to make it happen. And then I can honestly say, when I do talk to my male friends or acquaintances, my brother, my uncles, it's about relationships. So yeah, it is also. I guess it's also like that because a lot of my female friends are married. So we don't talk a lot of relationship stuff because I'm not married. So I'm not going to sit here, you know, and weigh in on what you got going on the same way she cannot sit here and weigh in on what I have going on as far as relationship wise, because we're in two separate boats. But as far as being an entrepreneur, we do speak about that. Stocks. I have someone that I talk to every day, a female, about stocks. We are about our money. We're about our dollars. And I don't have any male friends. Well, I can say my brother is, would you call my brother a male friend? Anyway, I can say my brother, I talk to him all the time about stocks. Huh?
I suppose, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, then,
if you have a good relationship, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, my female friends, we're all about making that dollar. We're all about, okay, what can we do to better ourselves? And I can say my male counterparts are more relationship focused.
Okay. Gotcha. Excellent. Thank you for that. It's good to hear all these dynamics. Y'all got as many different dynamics as there are people on this call. Damn. On to what seems to be Nene's favorite portion of this. For all of us, I'm sure I can speak for all of us here who are we're either currently in a relationship or we've been in a relationship. Whether we're currently in a relationship or not, I'm sure that we've all been in a relationship at one point in time. What's the dynamics on being friends with your ex? That's a huge one for me because that's been a journey.
I think it depends on the character of the ex. So I am not friends with my son's father at all whatsoever, but his character, his demeanor, and his focus in life has nothing to do with mine. So there's no need for me to be friends. In addition to that, some of the residue he left on my son, I do not appreciate. So I wouldn't be a friend with a man like that. But if my ex was a good man, him a good dude, we were friends. I would roll. We're friends first anyway. So a relationship that can end our friendship unless we were never friends from the beginning. So I don't have a problem with being friends with my ex, but I know that would be a problem if I was in a relationship that was friends with my ex. Only, but I feel like if we get down to it, it's insecurity. Because we can't say that a person no longer can be friends with anybody in the past just because we're now in their life. You have to be able to trust that person, and if you can't, if I can't, then I will not be with that man. And if that man cannot trust me and believe in our bond and our union, then we do not need to be together. I would not ask a man to no longer be friends with any of his exes. But if I felt uncomfortable, I would let it be known that I feel uncomfortable by whatever dynamic that is still there, and either it changes or it doesn't. So the consideration I'm shown will determine everything, not whether or not he's friends with his ex. For me.
Yeah, that's good.
That's real. Anybody else?
I have a pretty decent. Go ahead.
Okay, my comment would be, thank you. My comment with that would be regarding that, if the man that you're dating, if you all started out as friends and you all have a good friendship and you talk and your communication is clear, if one or the other has another friend that they're talking to as friends, nothing more than friends, it should be a line of communication and respect for the other person. If we're just friends anyway, but I'm in a relationship with John, me and John in a relationship, and I have another friend, Jose, and me and Jose just friends, we talk at work. If my relationship with John is respected, and I respect John enough, me and Jose just friends, is nothing that me and Jose gonna be talking about anyway. It shouldn't be anything you're talking about anyway, if you just friends. So John should not have any concern, he shouldn't have doubt or any insecurities that I may be talking to Jose about something else. If I have that level of respect for John. If John has that level of respect for me, it'll be the same way. Yeah, I mean, because that's when you know if what you're doing is a relationship, if the other person wants more than a relationship, or they trying. Because then, like you said in the beginning, sometimes men and women, they can go in with a relationship being friends, but somebody got a motive. They're going to try it. They're going to keep trying it. But at the point where one sees that it's becoming a problem, then that's the one that need to nip it in the bud. But, I don't know if I'm going too far into it or not. But me, if I have a level of respect for my spouse or whoever I'm with, whatever conversation that I have with a friend would just be that, a conversation with a friend.
Go ahead, Wendy.
No, I was saying I have pretty decent relationships with about 90% of my exes. And to piggyback off of what somebody else said, I don't let anybody in my life that I can't feel like we can be friends. So it has to start out on some communicative tangent for us to even get involved, first and foremost. Otherwise, what's the point? And if we break up for whatever reason, I still want to believe that I made a good choice by allowing this person into my life, and we've shared some good, we might have some bad times or whatever, but if we can't be friends, it's because I feel like I didn't do my job in a sense of picking that right person, me. So I put that on me. So there's one person that I can't ever be friends with, and that's one person. And I know there was some red flags in the beginning that I overlooked. And even now I look back on it, I'm like, you know what, I'm glad I gave you 3 months of my life, even though you keep trying to remind me every year, here and there. But I feel like there has to be a friendship established first. I have conversations with my ex-husband's wife, because once we were done and it's hurt, and she's asking me questions, we're sharing kids. And once you're in my children's life, I got to have conversations with you. So, and if I'm going to ask my kids, how do you feel about this person? If my kids say, I love her, she's great, she's wonderful, I love her, she's great, she's wonderful. So I think there has to be some form of symbiotic relationship going on. And some people you can't be friends with, but the ones that are good inherently, we can still have an amicable relationship out, providing you understand that I'm not trying to be with you ever again. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Damn right.
Yeah. I think sometimes those lines get blurred. Some people feel like, we're over and done with, but I want to come by and slide in every now and then. No, and not go stuff here. No. So once you put that out there and you let them know, I'm fine with us being friends, especially if we're sharing custody of children. I think that we have to be peaceful. And again, everybody's situation is very different. There's some people that make it very hard. I'm not saying that you have to be friends with that person. But once you make sure my children are good, we're going to be good.
I'm with you on that. I'm definitely with you on that. I know for me, my situation is very much like yours. I could call up 90% of my exes and be like, "Hey, how you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
That we'd be able to, we'd be able to have a conversation or something like that. I'm actually I'm in contact with a fair number of my exes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like, and a lot of them have moved on. They've gotten married, had kids, and something like that. And it's like, you know what? You're cool. We're cool, and that's because we had that foundation beforehand.
Right.
Of course, we all know that there are relationships that become relationships without having that foundation.
True.
That friendship itself, and then before you know it, if it boils down, then it's like y'all become strangers again or something. Yeah, the strongest example that I have would have to be with my ex-wife, where we had something of a friendship. It wasn't super duper established, and then we went ahead and got married, and then we realized that there were a whole bunch of red flags, and we didn't pay attention to them, and so on and so forth. And when the split finally happened, there was a fair period of like, yo, who the fuck are you? And getting back to the end, it's been a process of learning where we were actually at in the process of becoming friends before we'd even gotten married, and then kind of picking up from there and figuring out how to connect those two ends together where I can say I have a friendship with her now, like a solid one. Which was definitely important for me for the same reasons, because we have kids to raise. So
plus you need that babysitter.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I know.
So especially with that dynamic being
I have to agree with Chad.
With that dynamic being there. Huh?
I have to agree with you, Chad. You have to have time. You have to have time. If for a friendship to really work, you do need to allocate time for healing and for self-reflection and find out what went wrong. And then from there, you can build a friendship.
Dead ass. Yeah, I think you
appreciate
take
that.
Care of your emotions, because that's just mature. You have you settle out your emotions so that you're not being petty or vindictive or operating out of a fleeting feeling that won't last forever. So I do agree. I don't think everything could just. Sometimes it could, because you can see that it's ending and you can slowly end it, and everybody comes to it agreeably. That's one thing, but a lot of times I just think you do have to sort out your emotions first, and then you can think clear and remember the word before you guys ever connected, and then become friends.
Sometimes you got to punch somebody in the throat and then have them move on, and then they realize the mistakes that they've made, and then they're like, you know what, I apologize, let's move on from here. And then they see, that, listen here, I'm not one to be played with. And then they realize that you can be friends. This is example, my ex from 20 years ago. We're great friends. I could pick up the phone now and call him and say, look, my house is on fire, I need $50,000. And he'll say, I got 30. And I'll have that in my account tomorrow. And vice versa. He can call me and say, hey, I need 15 grand. And if I have it, he's going to have it, because that's the relationship that we have right now. But we had to get to that point after he realized I'm not coming back. So once he realized that, and he said, you know what, I still value her. Again, it goes right back to value. I value you as a friend. And if I can't have a friendship with you, if I can't have a relationship, I really would push towards a friendship because I don't want to lose you out of my life. You're too valuable for me as a friend.
Look at that. That's maturity right
there. Oh yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Right,
and I have a
question.
Actually, because we're talking a lot about, and people are in agreement with, we can be friends, and males, women, and men can be. I've yet to hear someone say no, and I know that there's someone on this call that does not agree with men and women being friends, but I want to hear that point of view. I want to hear that perspective. Is there anyone on here that feels that cannot absolutely work?
Yep, me.
Okay.
Show yourself.
I have 2 exes that I absolutely will not, cannot, won't not be friends with. You were an awful person when we were together. You're still an awful person now. And I'm good without you. Don't come back this way. You're going to get shut down. Matter of fact, you can't even come back this way because I've blocked you on my phone, my email, my social media. So one of them don't even know where I moved to. So yeah, I do have a couple that I absolutely cannot, will not be friends with.
That sounds warranted. I mean,
yeah,
it's warranted.
That sounds very situational.
Yeah.
They stalked you, tell the truth.
Yep. Anyone on here that is against it, like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way.
Anybody who says it doesn't work as a general thing, like men and women cannot be friends. Is there anybody who thinks that?
Repeat what you said, Chad. Repeat it again. Repeat what you said, please.
Is there anybody here in this space that feels like, just as a general thing, men and women cannot be friends? It's a lot of love in here. Okay, I'll take that.
I don't know. I'm thinking every time I take myself off of the need to say something, and then I mute myself again because I'm like teetering between, like, I don't know. I think that if it's like a toxic relationship, then that's obviously a no. But for me, I would question why that relationship happened to begin with, because then that way you understand like why you can't be friends. But in general, I think it depends on your level of maturity on both parts, and it has to be genuine. So I think men and women can't be friends if it's not genuine. So if there's another motive there, or if the man sees the woman and is attracted to the woman, then maybe that can't happen. Sorry, that's him. So there's got to be a level of respect and maturity among the two for it to happen. So I think it can't happen. And now stop it happening. I think that it cannot happen if those things are not evident, right? So. Sorry, I gotta pause myself. I'll mute myself now.
No, it's fine. Excellent point. If that dynamic's not there to begin with, and a lot of us can't always tell, like, right at the very beginning when we meet somebody, if they're on that friend, unless those red flags are just really like damn apparent and we're paying attention to them, Otherwise, it's usually trial. In most cases, I'm sure I could probably speak for both people here. It's usually trial and error. Like, give them a shot, and then if it works out, fine. And then if it doesn't, then we're like, okay, you want to be here, but I'm gonna put you here. I'm gonna put you here.
And like somebody said, if that person is toxic, you owe it to yourself to not have that person remain in your life. There is no guarantee that you have to be friends with your ex, especially if they don't serve you. And when I say serve, I don't mean come and hand you money or hand you food. But if they're not, enlightening you in any way, shape, or form, there's no positive aspect to having that person in your life, then you, by all means, you got to make sure they get out of your life, and by any means necessary.
I agree. And like I said, I'm friends with majority of my 90% of my exes. The funny thing is, though, is that with my ex-husband, we no longer speak. However, his sister and I just went on vacation last week, so I'm still friends with his sister. I'm not gonna say who she is; she's on the call, but we're still friends to this day outside of our relationship. With her brother, my ex-husband. But he and I will probably never speak again. We will probably never be friends again. But his sister and I have maintained that relationship. So there's a few that just like you said, if it just doesn't work, it just doesn't work. But I think in my thought process is that if you have, if you're in a relationship, there has to be some and we're talking about exes who are friends afterwards. There has to be some type of friendship, I believe, in order for you to even to maintain a healthy relationship. And it unless someone literally just breaks me down and just does me wrong, I cannot see myself not maintaining some type of relationship, whether it be cordial or if we're hanging out or whatever after that, because then I question the entire relationship. What were we if we still can't remain friends after everything is over and done?
Nene, I got a question. Okay, I guess my question is this. When you are saying friends, okay, I'm thinking be three or four different categories, but I want to make sure I'm clear. If I was in a relationship with somebody and I broke up with them, because I think I answered the question wrong in the beginning. If I was in a relationship with somebody and I broke up with them and became ex, and they became my ex, okay, what you mean friends with them? What I need to be friends with them for? Are you asking the question, do we still hang out? Would I still call them on the phone? Because if somebody is my friend, I have a relationship with you. Some type of relationship I got with you. If you're not my friend or somebody I talk to on a daily basis, if I see you in the street, I'm going to be cordial. Hi and bye. If we broke up, I don't need to be talking to you no more. I mean, whether we broke up on a good note or we broke up on a bad note, however we did and we squashed it, I don't need to be talking to you every day. I don't need to be talking to you every once in a while. You really don't need to have my phone number. For what? If we were not together and we couldn't make it work, okay, and if we're not that type of friends or whatever like that, why do I actually need to be friends with my ex anyway?
Yes, there it goes. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. Okay.
This is what I'm saying.
Answered it wrong. I'm like, okay, why do I need to be friends with you? I mean, for what?
There are certain exes that I still am friends with. Up until a recent breakup, and I say breakup of a friendship, we were together 10 years ago. For 10 years, I still was involved in events that he had in his house. If he had cookouts, we used to play cards on a weekly basis. We used to check in on each other and say, hey, how you doing? He's been on a couple of these calls with us. So there was, and it depends on, again, the level of friendship that we had within the relationship. And there are friends that I still have, exes I still have that I'm friends with on Facebook, and we randomly check in on each other. There are friends that, or exes that I see in the street that are cordial, that it's just a hey to bye or whatever, and that's it. But there have been relationships where there are exes and I still play cards with them. I'm still invited to Thanksgiving. We still hang out. He moves my furniture when I move from apartment to apartment. So there are friendships that I maintain with and this is my thought process. Why can that not maintain? If we were really friends in a relationship, or were we? Because we can't maintain that afterwards, then me personally, this is my opinion, I question the entirety of the relationship. What were we? What were we building?
This is my question, because this is what I want. This is why I got on this call today to find out. So, if y'all was friends then, if you were friends in the beginning, what caused you to cross the friendship to get into a relationship, to break out a relationship, to go back to a friendship?
And sometimes, I think that a lot of times when two attractive people meet up and they're like, oh, she's cute, he's cute, let's try to make this work. And then you get into that, because the dynamics of a friendship is completely different than the dynamics of a relationship. I expect my expectations from you as a friend is completely different than my expectations from you as a boyfriend. So if you can't meet those expectations as a boyfriend, then it's not gonna work. But guess what? I'm still your friend. I'm still your friend, and that is what our relationship was based off of. But we cannot be a boy. You're a great friend, but you're awful boyfriend. Or I'm a great friend and I'm awful girlfriend. That doesn't mean we can't still maintain that friendship, though.
I think that you're missing a part, though, that you have to allow time to grieve whatever happened, and that timing is predicated on the individual. And so therefore maybe you're ready to move on and be friends, but that other person isn't. And so I don't know, I think that I like Tanisha's point, like it's good, but on your part, Tanisha, I think that you have to take into consideration that you may be a good friend, but that person may not be a good friend because that person is still hurt by whatever happened. I think that the reason why relationships...
I was going to say that's where communication comes in. That's why you have to have good communication with people to see where you stand. And that doesn't necessarily, and I get what you're, and I don't mean to cut across you, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be a time frame where the healing happens. If you have that communication, say, look, we didn't work out in a relationship, but I still want to remain your friend. That doesn't necessarily, for me, doesn't necessarily mean that I have to take time away from that if that understanding is stated and those guidelines are met.
Okay, so let me give you an example. So my ex-husband and I, when we first broke up, we have a daughter together. So when we first broke up, it was a mess. I mean, like I couldn't stand the sight of him. But the objective though, right, was that we have a child together, right? And so therefore, for the sake of the health of my child, I dealt with him until he came to a place where he was healed. So it took him time. I made the decision to keep working on this so-called relationship until he was ready to be a part of that relationship. And then when that happened, just like Chad said, when that happened, then we became friends. We had to come to a place of mutual understanding and then become friends. So I think that if you think that all relationships, or not all, but if you think that relationships should end where it started, you have to reevaluate the starting point and whether or not if you were truly friends to begin with. And then if you were friends to begin with, then you then need as a friend, you have to give that other person time so that they can finally get to that place of being friends again. Does that mean, I don't know if that made sense.
Yeah, I agree.
No, a lot of sense, actually. And then
right.
Yeah.
I don't want you to say. You gonna let me go? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Basically, just understanding what she said, which was good too. But my thing now, listening to the conversation, the piece changed a little bit because I had to get clear understanding. Is that what was the basis of your friendship in the beginning? I think Nene had said, was it the attraction? That's the thing that I think a lot of people get blindsided on if they can't be friends with that person. If it was just attraction that I saw her at the grocery store and I saw him at the gym and there was just attraction, their body chemistry, gravitated me to him or her. Okay, those people that may break up, they became attracted to one another without the intellectual part. They were physically attracted to someone. They were sexually attracted to that person, but they didn't have a communication. They have a strong bond or communication or something that can stick the friendship together. Another thing that that came to my mind too was, what do you all have together outside of that bond? Like you have children, I have kids, with another, I have a child by another person. I can't stand the sight of him, you know what I'm saying? But however, that's my son's father. My son is 25. I don't need to talk to him no more. I really don't even care. I don't need to talk to him about that. Because the way we got together was the wrong thing anyway. So guess what? It goes right back to that. If I had never walked in that place I saw him at, I would have never saw him. So guess what? Just like he quickly came in my head, came in my view, he came out of view.
Yeah.
Just me. So, but that was a really good comment that y'all had made. Sorry.
No, nothing to apologize for. That's kind of what we were going into next. Was like, is it healthy to remain friends after a relationship? Why or why not? And you guys have already kind of jumped in and started answering that question.
Yep.
Y'all are good for that.
Stacy has has her hand up, brother.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi. This sounds like this came on the heels of Steve Harvey saying he doesn't feel like men and women can be friends. And so
I have not seen that video yet, but I will watch it. Go ahead.
Yeah. And yeah, Steve Harvey, you can't be friends with nobody. So I'm not shocked and surprised that came out of his lips. Especially, with his track record, with his he 3 times married and 2 ex-wives that he screwed over royally. So excuse me, from his perspective, I'm very sure that Marjorie ain't trying to have him have no female friends because he has a horrible track record. Anyway, the thing is, yes, men and women can be friends, absolutely. And yes, it does come down to, after a relationship is over, do I want to be friends with you? And usually the answer is no. And that really depends on, that really depends on how the relationship ends, whether or not we are going to be remaining friends. Because my whole thing is this: if you screwed me over in a relationship, what then makes me feel you're gonna be a friend to me? To me, that just doesn't make sense. And I think a lot of time women, we have the tendency to want to hold on to men that we were, that a relationship ended, now we want to be friends. And for some of us, I'm not saying for all, but I have seen this, we're holding on in the hopes that it's going to rekindle. It's not even about the friendship. It's like, well, let me kind of hold on, and maybe someday, hopefully he'll see what a wonderful person I am. No. So again, for me personally, it comes down to, and again, it depends on how the relationship ended. If it ended on good terms for both of us and we just realized this is not working and blah, 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 that's one issue. But if you done screwed me over, cheated on me, did X, Y, Z, whatever, I don't want to be your friend. Because if you've already shown me in a very intimate setting who you are, so how am I supposed to believe, oh yeah, if we're just friends, it's gonna be better? To me, that's just so silly. So, and I've reconnected with an ex, and that was one of his things he said to me. When we were done, you never picked up the phone. You damn skippy, because you lucky you here now. And it was a hot mess and a big mistake. So, to me, I don't see the value in maintaining a friendship, a relationship with someone that I don't have kids with, so I can walk away from them. And that has already shown me how toxic, immature, whatever words you want to use in there, that has already shown me that they are not capable of having any type of relationship with me, much less trying to maintain a friendship. That's too much work. That's just too much work. And it's like, when I think about it, the work that would go into trying to, me and this dude broke up, and okay, let's say he was immature, he wasn't ready for a relationship, whatever it was. And now I'm gonna be your friend, and I'm gonna help grow you up for the next chick. That's too much work. So I hear what everybody's saying, but it largely depends on why the relationship ended. Because just because I knew you then doesn't mean you deserve a seat at my table now. So, that's my less than 2 cents.
Anyone else? Anyone else have anything to say?
That's it. Okay.
Nadine, her hands is up.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask a question? So I'll give you a scenario. So let's say you do break up with someone, right? And that person, let's say, cheats on you. And then a period of time passes. And then that person reaches out to you, or you reach out to that person. And then a relationship gets developed or built out of that moment because of some type of a clarity. Then does that mean that there's necessarily something wrong with me, or to still be friends with that person? And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because I think about an ex when I was younger, where he cheated on me, right? And then we went our separate ways. But that relationship was a foundational relationship for me, from that moment all the way into adulthood, right? Because I was young. And I built all of my relationships based on the foundation of that first relationship. And then because he hurt me, I just kept moving on and trying to find some remnants of him in other people. And then I finally came to my ex-husband, and I realized that was like the problem. And then that's why we couldn't work, and for other reasons. So we broke up. But then he reached back to me, the first guy, and we talked. Like, we had a moment of what happened, and I got some clarity, but that gave me the closure that I needed, that I didn't even realize that I needed to have. And then from that point on, we stayed friends, right? And so I think that, I don't know, it depends upon, so I agree with the young woman that spoke before, but then I also think that there are situations where having a friendship or building a friendship or establishing a friendship can also be selfish, in a sense where it allows you to have some type of a closure for yourself or healing for yourself. So I'm a big proponent. I believe in evaluating relationships based on what it can do for you, not just for the sake of being in a relationship with somebody for the sake of being in a relationship with somebody. So I don't know. So I don't know if that's a statement or a question, but it's my 2 cents.
Okay.
Kind of both. It's kind of both. Anybody want to take a crack at that before we do?
Can I try?
Okay.
What I was gonna say is that
something to say about it, but yeah, go ahead.
I think that that takes a level of maturity to have someone, do that, to pretty much take advantage of your friendship within the relationship. Obviously, they didn't value your friendship at that time because they cheated or whatever. I don't know the whole circumstance or whatever. But I think to go back and say, you know what, this is what you did. This is how I feel about it now, years later, and I'm okay. I'm at a level in my life where that doesn't bother me anymore. And I think that kind of falls back into where people are great friends or good friends, but not necessarily great partners. So you can be a good friend and not be a great partner. For example, the guy that I was talking about that we were dated 10 years ago. When we dated 10 years ago, it's now 12 years now, we broke up because he started dating another woman, and a month later she was pregnant. So a month later she was pregnant. I know a baby came 9 months later. So somewhere in there, obviously something happened, but it took that time frame that you were talking about, Nadej, earlier to evaluate that and to see where we are. And we were great friends in the relationship, but he was an awful boyfriend. But we were able to get back to that space of being friends after we had that sit down conversation and say, this is where you hurt me, this is what went wrong, and this is where I am now. And then we were able to establish that friendship after that, but not until after that conversation, the same conversation you're talking about, had happened. And I personally, obviously, I don't think that, you can't get there if you have a core conversation, an honest, emotionally filled conversation where everyone is being transparent and being honest to say, this is where I am, this is how I feel. I'm not going to be back with you and at that level as a romantic partner, but we can still be friends. That's my 2 cents.
Let me add something in here. I've had one of those foundational relationships that took it's decades.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was my first boyfriend at 15. I'm now a woman of a certain age, and 5 years, we've been going back and forth for decades. And here's what I learned. Unless there is healing on both parties' part, unless there is true healing on both parties' part, my lesson was that what I was looking for in him really wasn't in him. It was something I had to find in myself. So a lot of times, I found for myself with this back and forth, and then, trying to be friends, trying to have a relationship with somebody. I mean, unless that the other partner, especially if they cheated on you or abused you or, whatever, toxic type of entanglement you may have had with them, unless they have truly done the work, what friendship or relationship can you really have with this person? Because for me, it was hoping and wishing and praying, and seeing his potential, but not seeing the reality of who this person was. And the reality of who this person was and the reality of who I wanted him to be was 2 very different things. And the reality of who I wanted him to be and the reality of who he wanted to be was very different. So I think when you get to a point of emotional and spiritual maturity, you are able to say, I love you, but I gotta go. Because you are not good for me. I'm not going to be going back and forth with you and back and forth, especially, again, if that person has not, because words are easy to speak. It's the actions that count. So if I see, yes, they can, apologize and say they understand and they're sorry and blah, blah, blah. But if in reality, nothing has changed in that person, then nothing has changed in that person.
Nice.
So a lot of times I had to shift from what people were saying to what people were doing and how they were living their life. Because, and maybe this is a woman thing, I'm not sure. I hear a lot of women do this, but we get so caught up in words. And I think that's because between women, words are very important. We kind of, if you have really deep connections, when your girlfriend says something, you believe her, you trust her. And so we kind of project that outward, and a lot of times can get ourselves in trouble with that. Believing that everyone, because I am trustworthy, because I back my work, because I mean what I say, that everyone means what they say. No. And so I had to make that shift from, okay, I hear what you're saying, but let me look at the reality of your life. Oh, your life is a hot mess. No. So, in dealing with those foundational relationships, like I said, this decades, I don't even want to say decades of going back and forth with this person and thinking time was going to, because he said, he missed me and he understood and blah, 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 blah. And then we wound up right back in the same shenanigans because he just wasn't emotionally and mentally and spiritually mature. But the words sounded pretty, and he put in kind of some sort of actions towards that kind of sort of.
Right.
So, it's a complex thing. Everyone is different, but, at this point in my life, yes, I want to only give energy to friendships that give energy to me.
Facts.
I only want to give energy to people that feed my soul. And not just me feeding everybody else's soul, because that's a big thing I can do too. I'm feeding everybody else, and then when I'm, on zero and looking for, okay, I need some replenishment, people ghost. So I think in this, we also have to define what friendship is for us. And I find that as I matured, that definition took on a whole new meaning.
Yeah.
It took on a whole new depth. So whether you are man, woman, dog, cat, it doesn't matter. Is this relationship reciprocal? Where's the reciprocity in this relationship?
That's that word right there.
Right. So, as I matured, I started to really understand that, how important that is. And how important that is into a healthy, functioning relationship, period, whether you want to call it a friendship, intimate, sexual, whatever. Family members, doesn't matter. How is this feeding my soul? Or am I just holding on to it for the sake of the label that it is? Husband, wife, mother, father, friend. If the label can't be more important than the actual relationship, the actual energy of the relationship. So, it's been the school of hard knocks, but at this point in my life, I'm really grateful because I don't need that closure from anybody anymore. Because I know that closure comes from me. Whether they say, I'm sorry, I'm not sorry, die bitch, whatever their conclusion is, the closure has to come from me. Because unfortunately in life, we're not always gonna get closure. And that was one of my hangups, even with my father, the closure with, that's a whole can of worms. But, wanting that person to go, I'm sorry, I messed up.
Right.
You could turn blue in the face and die, pass out on the floor, die before some people will ever come to that conclusion. It's wonderful when you get it, but if I have to base my life on always getting that, saying nothing, doing nothing, that is an action. That is closure. That it's not the closure you want, but it's closure.
I was about to say.
Right. It might not be the closure that the way you would like to have it happen, but it is closure. It's just not the closure you want or the closure that I want. But, you know, being ghosted, you know, whatever that person, however that person deemed to end the relationship, and they never came to you and, you know, had that conversation with you and said, I'm sorry, I know it was wrong and blah, blah, blah. However that person chose to end that relationship, that was the closure. So, you know, I think in this process, there's so much I could look externally and point fingers towards, but I had to do the work on the inside to get to a space of, oh, okay, you ain't calling, you ain't text, okay, I'm good, next, because I'm not chasing you. I don't care if you mama, daddy, sister, brother, cat, dog down the road. I'm not chasing you because that's not reciprocal. So this conversation is a very complex and wonderful conversation because for me, it reminds me of the work I have to do. The place of having healthy relationships in my life, because it's not about the other people becoming healthy and giving me what I want. It's about me becoming healthy and standing in my power and going, oh, nope, not doing that. Love you, bye. So that's my 3 cents. Thank you.
I appreciate it. I'm gonna go back to the original question / statement that you put out there about having one of those foundational relationships and then how it comes back. And what I can say from my experience is being the man that I am now, I have learned to keep a sense of openness about things like that, because you never know what people. I don't ever think that once you meet somebody and God forbid you guys get close and then you fall out of alignment with each other. I'm not one to think that once you fall out of alignment, then that was your one and only chance in my life. I try to keep myself open for things that I may learn from them coming back, even if it doesn't even mean that they have to come back and it be, oh, we've reestablished things, everything's hunky-dory. They could come back and want another chance, and I could be like, okay, what's changed? And they could say this, that, and the third, and their words or actions may turn out to be still in line with what was there that had me, distance myself. And you know what I've gathered from that is that I even learned from that because it reminds me of what I was sticking to my guns for in the first place. So that kind of keeps me sharp in some way. And I hope that helps somebody in some way. And then there have been other instances where I've had my instance with somebody and we were friends or we were together, and then the friendship, got strained or the relationship ended, and maybe we didn't talk for a while, and maybe we needed that time because I needed to mature, they needed to mature, and then something happens where we come back in communication with each other, and there's that much more to give to each other, like we needed the time apart in order to grow, and then we come back together and it's like, oh, it's better this time. It's better this time. There was growth there. There's maturity there, like everybody was saying, and there's that reciprocity now. Things seem more balanced now, and that gets maintained. So, I keep a sense of, like I said, openness when it comes to that. Not saying that anybody else has to, but when it comes to bonds and relations in general, not even just friendships, but including friendships, if they leave and then should they happen to come back, I'm never just like, oh, why are you back here? Go away, so forth. I remember what happened. I can't, unless it is proven to still be the case, I can't hold on to what happened to spite what's happening, if that makes sense. If it turns out that it is still the case, then I can be like, okay, what I said, I'm saying to you now what I said to you last year or 4 years or 10 years ago. It doesn't seem like you've changed, you know. Or I can say, based off of what's happening now, oh, you seem like you've gotten better now, and apparently I have too, because I can stand you now. So that's definitely one thing that I just want to kind of like drop in everybody's heads as well. Last point that we had, which we kind of sort of started to touch on. I think Tanisha, you started to touch on it a little bit. For those of us who have or have had significant others, so whether you've had one and you're currently single now, or you have one right now, how do you feel about their opposite sex friends?
And I would like, I'm sorry, I just wanted to jump in. I want to hear from the men, because I know we have men on the call, and you're the only one.
Yeah, we got a couple.
So I want to hear from the men and their thoughts on this topic, because men haven't spoken. All the women have done all the talking. So if any of the men have, if you want to answer the current question or even the past questions that were presented, I would just like to hear because there's women saying, oh, we can be friends and and it's boundaries and all that, and the men are probably in the back of their head like, nah, that's what you think, but that's not what's really going on in my head, in our head as men. Go ahead, Eric. I see your hand.
Got one. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, it's a good topic. Personally, I would not want to be friends with any of my exes. As someone has already stated, what's in the past is in the past. We don't need to have a relationship anymore. Whatever I would think I need or could get, I can get elsewhere. I don't have any type of relationship with any of my exes, so that's pretty much a done deal. As far as men and women being able to be friends on a platonic level, it could happen, but you kind of have to make that perfectly clear, because I'm a man and I have a lot of friends that kind of delve in that area, and their motives are most times still, trying to lay up. They're just trying to get with the woman. They're not trying to be a friend. They can say all the right things. They can be this great person, but their ulterior motive is to get you to sleep with you. I'm not saying all men are that way, but a lot of them are, and they will say and do anything, and they will hang around as long as possible to try to get to that end goal.
Thank you. It's good to hear the men's view.
You think it absolutely can happen though?
Yeah, you could. There could be a relationship, and just on that platonic level where it's like, hey, this is my friend, and it's nothing there that could happen. But me personally, majority of the time, that's not the case. It's not.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha. How do you feel about your significant other having like in the past or present? How do you feel about your significant other having friends of the opposite sex?
I don't have a problem with that. I mean, because I know her, if she has people that she's friends with, I know her, so I know there's nothing there. She's not that type of person. Me, in general, with me, I'm not a friendly type of person anyways. I mean, I am, but to the extent where people just want to be my friend, I've never had that. It's more so people kind of look at me and take me to be a different type of person than I really am, because people tend to look at you from your outer appearance and just judge you on that basis. So I'm a do-rag type of person. I wear baggy jeans, and I tend to want to keep it that way, because what I say is it keeps people out of my circle that I don't need, that don't mean me well. So then I have more time to handle real business. So I continue just to do what I'm doing, you know, and I move on from there. But again, I never had that, you know, a female friend where it was like, hey, she's really close, whatever. I have acquaintances. If I do have friends, they're family members, like my nieces or cousins or what have you. We're on that level, but outside of that, no, never had that.
All right. Real talk. Thanks for sharing your perspective on it. And for some people, that's really what it is. Some people play it close to the chest. Some people have a little bit more loose dynamics. We've heard all sorts of different takes on it, and that's kind of what we wanted to happen here in the space. So we wanted to hear what the context of everybody's viewpoints on this, because you guys make up the community. You guys are examples of the community that we're trying to serve. So to get everybody in here and talk about their different experiences and their different viewpoints on it, that's what we need in order for everybody to kind of like, for everybody to kind of get some type of takeaway from it and be able to be like, okay, well, I've learned this or I've learned that. Tanisha said in the chat, this is therapy. And it's like, and I appreciate it. That's huge. I appreciate that. Thank you for that. That you're hearing everybody's, you know, perspectives, and that you're allowing it to kind of like help shape a better viewpoint for you going forward on this. So that's what's up. Anybody else want to take a crack at this last point that we had? When it comes to your significant other, how do you feel about their opposite sex friends? How do you approach that? I know for it, I'll start. What? Who's going? Go.
Oh, that was just me. I was just gonna say, I can't speak on that because I'm not in a relationship. Every relationship is different. Every person in a relationship is different. I think it actually depends on the person that you're in a relationship with. So I could be in a relationship with Paul last week, and I wouldn't have a problem with him being friends with the opposite sex. But next week I can be in a relationship with Steve, and I would have a big old problem because Steve might be a hoe. You never know. So since I'm single, it's really hard for me to speak on that because it could go either way. Everybody in a relationship is different.
Is there any past experience that you can speak on?
Past experience? Yeah, I can speak on that. And in the past, I really didn't care. Because I see it like this. If somebody's going to do something, they're going to do it, no matter who you are. I mean, Jay-Z cheated on Beyonce. No matter who, they're going to do it if they want to. So I am not about to waste all my energy running behind some dude trying to see what he's doing, but I could be focusing my energy elsewhere. I'm just not going to do it. Because I don't get that time back. I don't get that peace of mind back. So if I got to chase behind you to see what you're doing, we don't need to be together in the first place.
All right. I appreciate that. That's real talk. My stance on it personally, I really take innocent unless proven guilty. I understand that you had a life before me. And in that life, you had friends, and in that group of friends, you had men and women friends. So, really, unless I catch you in it, or you come and confess that you did some nonsense, you're innocent until found guilty. Other than that, you want to go hang out with them? Cool, go hang out with them. You know what I'm saying? Respect our relationship, of course.
Right.
But yeah, for the most part, you know, do what you do. Do what you do, unless what you do falls out of line with what you agreed to do with me. That's my stance on it.
And I agree. I think as long as it's, again, open communication.
Anybody else want to take a shot? Want to take a crack at that?
As long as it's open communication and I know your friends, you know my friends, and because you can tell when there's something else that's going on there. But I think as long as there's open communication and everyone understands what their role is in that relationship, in that friendship, in that thing, then again, like you said, I can't, innocent until proven guilty, until you show me something that goes against what we agreed upon.
Exactly. Anybody else want to share a current or past experience on that?
I personally, I don't have an issue with it, and it's all about respect. I have guy friends, but of course, if my guy is like, well, you spend a little too much time with Tony, now I got to stop hanging out with Tony as much as I hang out with Tony, because I'm not trying to cross any relationship respect barriers. And I think it's all about how you communicate with your significant other. I dated someone in the past that had a lot of women friends. I didn't have an issue with that. But every time I turn around, he's having a party and he's having a function with these women friends that I never knew about. But the moment I'm hanging out with my guy friend, he has an issue. So I started having to realize that you're not the one for me. I'm not about to try to figure out what's going on in your life. If you're not giving me the respect that I'm giving you, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to walk away and let you have all this free time with all your female friends. And that ended that.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, again, it's all, we're adults. If you don't want me to do something, don't do it. That's the bottom line. I'm going to conduct myself with respect, whether you're there in front of me or not. And I expect the same from you. That's my expectations for you. Do to me what you would want me to do to you.
Absolutely.
There's that reciprocity again.
Absolutely. It's my word for 2021 and onward.
Mm-hmm. That's been a good one. Mm-hmm. That's been a real good one. Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else got some stories on that, or anybody else want to share their take on it? If you have a significant other, how do you approach them having friends of the opposite sex? I actually had an instance where somebody who I was with had such, well, by telling the story myself, I'll automatically say who it is. My ex-wife had an issue with one of my women friends, one of these foundational friendships. I mean, I'd known her for some decades, and wonderful friend, had never messed around. We had never messed around anything, but she felt uncomfortable with how cool and how tight we were, and so she issued an ultimatum like, "It's y'all friendship or our marriage," and I was like, what? And because, I was married and I felt that was right thing to do, I cut ties with her, which hurt like hell to do. Didn't talk to her for 3 years. Kind of came to the realization that she hadn't really done anything wrong. And one day I just reached back out to her, and because of it being foundational as it was, when I tell you we picked up right where we left off, like nothing had happened. Of course, I apologize for cutting her off and everything that she completely understood and stuff like that. And bittersweet moment, she passed away 2 weeks later. So on some crazy stuff, like when you have a good friendship, that is not something that you let go of. Right. Like if you guys are able to maintain that, you guys are able to carry that on. And we were both newly married. So a lot of our conversations was just talking about how it felt to be newly married and stuff like that. And when you have, like I said, when you have that, it's, when you have that and it really kind of carries it on, of course, I'm speaking in the ideal sense, that's not something that you let go of easily. Or at least it's not something that you should let go of easily. So when you have somebody who has an issue with your friends who happen to be of the opposite sex, I think it's more so a question of asking, well, what's the real issue? Like, what is the problem? What is the actual problem that you have? Because if nothing's happening, and factually, nothing's happening, and they're like, well, I don't feel comfortable. Okay, as opposed to me saying, well, I won't hang out with them anymore. Now I'm like, well, what's your issue with them? Or what's your issue with me having them as a friend? Like I said, that's the only time in my life that's ever come up. But it was a strong enough example for me to use. So just putting that out to say that would be my one suggestion to you. If it's good, if it's not broke, don't get rid of it. If ain't nothing really wrong with it, don't get rid of it. Anybody else want to share?
Go ahead, Tanisha.
Okay, I wanted to share something. I had a friend that I was good friends with for a very long time before I got married. We were best friends. He's my son's godfather. And we were really, really, really close friends in high school, elementary school. We stayed in the same area. You know, we grew up together. And once I got married, we still had a good, communication. But once and then our children, our older kids are like cousins because we that's how close we were. Like we were the brothers and sisters. And so he started dating this young lady, and the girl didn't like me. I'm married already, but his girlfriend didn't like me. So what ended up happening was, it was like every time she would see me, I'll speak to her and she wouldn't speak to me. Or when he come around, he couldn't speak to me in front of her. We could actually be in the store, but all us be in the store. My spouse and me and her and him would be in the store, and he would not speak to neither one of us. So I approached him one day. I said, now, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. You are with this woman. I've come to you and spoke to you in front of her. If it was something that was so much going on, why would I even approach you like that anyway? I've spoken to you. I've spoken to her when you're not even around. You know what I'm saying? So the thing was, he told me she just don't like you because of our relationship. But what I had to do was this. I said, you know what? You my friend anyway. So, but if I'm not going to break up your home because this girl's insecure of me. So you know what I did? I let my best friend go. I told my best friend, I said, you know what? Go on to your girl, because I'm not your girlfriend. I'm just your friend. She do things for you that I'm not going to do. You know what I'm saying? You have a relationship with her different than the relationship with that we have together. To this day, I miss my friend. I see him, he'll speak, but that's it. I can't walk up to him and give him a hug, or he see my kids and hug my kids, and they can say, hey, Uncle so-and-so, or whatever. I mean, he can't do that. And it's like, okay, now, if that makes you feel bad on the inside that you can't do that, why you can't address that girl and ask her in front of me, what's the problem? I didn't ask you want to do that before. He didn't want to do that. So I had to let my friend go. And I think it's a thing about respect, and I take that as respect for me, because I wouldn't want to feel that way if somebody was, I wouldn't want that to be me. I wouldn't want to feel insecure if, my spouse was doing that and I didn't feel comfortable. You know what I'm saying? So, sometimes it happens like that. I know it happened to me, so I've experienced that before. So, it's not a good feeling.
Right.
It's unfair.
I'm with you on that. I hear you. Personally, I from a coach aspect, let me put it in two different contexts. From a coach aspect, I feel like you did the right thing as far as maintaining peace and so on and so forth. That is who he chose to be with and so on and so forth. Personally, I'm calling bullshit on his girl. Because that was your friend, and he has the added thing of being your kid's godfather and stuff like that. And so with her causing that type of static, that would actually bring you to being like, well, I don't want any static and this, that, and third. Plus, she's rude. She don't talk to us when we're around her and so on and so forth. So to take that's not even just taking that away from you. That's taking that away from your kids, who also have a bond with them being their godparent and so on and so forth. So that's my two cents, my two separate cents on it. But I hear you. I definitely hear you. Y'all, we said at the beginning of the show, before any of y'all even came on, this is gonna be a good show, and y'all have not disappointed at all. That's really pretty much all the points that we had tonight. if anybody wants to share any takeaways that they gathered from it, of course, you're more than welcome to. They're more than welcome to share with the group here. Anybody at all? Cool beans.
Yep.
Not a problem. As always, we really appreciate you guys for being here in this space with us tonight. Y'all brought the heat tonight. Y'all have plenty of stuff to say, lots of different perspectives. We thank you for all of your perspectives. For those of you who are seeing this, who are going to be seeing this on YouTube, be sure to like, share, and comment, of course. For those of you who are on the call, if you have especially for my new people, if you have the link, that is always the link, and we are every Wednesday. So if you're interested, you like what's going on, you don't even have to wait for an invite. You have the link. It is every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'd love to have you guys share with your friends, since you now have a deeper understanding of friends now, right? Share it with your friends. The reaction videos that we have coming up, as soon as I'm having some technical issues with some of my equipment. I have to get some new equipment to finish the editing for the videos, but we actually just did a reaction video on, if you guys are not familiar with it. And Stacey, I appreciate you for saying this on one of the previous calls, because I actually referenced the conversation, something that you had mentioned on a previous show. If you guys haven't seen this little back and forth that's going on between Kevin Samuels and Umar Johnson, we have a reaction video that will be getting posted up on the YouTube channel for that. So if you're interested, I will be posting that up in the Facebook page, the link for that, as soon as I have everything edited and posted up. That'll be there. If you have any questions or comments for us, be sure to check us out on our Facebook page. For those of you who are on Facebook, that is Him and Her Spaces, and I will put that in the chat right now. That is our FB page. I am a horrible typer, so give me a second. Already misspelled something.
So it's Him and Her Spaces on Facebook. It's also Him and Her Spaces on YouTube.
Yep.
And then the email address, if you for our Your Space videos, if you want to send us a video or you have any questions or anything like that, it's Him and Her TalkSpace podcast at gmail.com.
Yes.
Okay, and what's the next week's topic?
Next week's topic is actually a springboard off of this week's topic, the bro and girl code. What is it, and do we still follow it? All right, I shouldn't even have to explain what that is, but we will go into an explanation of it next week, just in case there's somebody, the bro code, the girl code. What is it, and are we still following it? So that'll be next week's topic. So until then, guys, if you have any, like we said, if you have any questions or comments, by all means, send them in to us. Let us know what you think about tonight's show or previous shows on the YouTube channel. I did put the channel in the chat as well for you guys to enjoy some of the previous episodes that we've done. And until next week, next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will see you guys. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Have a wonderful night. Thank you for being part of this. And as always, from both of us at Him and Her TalkSpace, where we have two coaches,
one space,
and zero reservations.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.